Evelyn moves swiftly through the pre-dawn gloom, her breath catching in her throat as she slips into the forgotten tailor's shop. Every step down the cracked stone stairwell echoes louder than she expects, amplifying the tension. She pauses, listening for movement above, then removes several loose bricks from the rear wall in the cold, damp cellar, revealing her hidden cache: bundles of encoded notes, a battered journal fragment, a slim camera, and a ration tin. She stuffs the most critical items into her satchel, her hands trembling as she hears the distant metallic clatter of a service door opening above. A red diode blinks from a corner panel. A silent alarm. She curses under her breath, heart pounding, knowing the Watchers will be here in moments. With practiced precision, she grabs the journal fragment and camera, sacrificing food, clothing, and even her own coded list of contacts to avoid the extra weight. Shuffling footfalls and urgent whispers filter down the stairwell. She replaces the bricks, scanning for anything left behind, then squeezes through a crumbling ventilation shaft she once mapped with Edmund. Boots thunder on the stairs as she disappears into the alley behind the shop, narrowly avoiding the first Watcher's flashlight sweep. She melts into a stream of early labourers, the cold air biting her cheeks, clutching her satchel tight. Behind her, the Watchers swarm the cellar, but Evelyn is already vanishing into Atheros' waking streets. Bursting onto the street, Evelyn draws her collar up, ducking her head as she merges with a slow procession of dock workers and bread sellers. Market Row, just waking, is thick with the smells of coal smoke and wet stone, the clamour of merchants setting up their stalls. She keeps to the edge, scanning for uniforms or unusual faces. Out of the corner of her eye, she notices a boy, dirty-faced, coat too large, flash 3 fingers to a man at a fruit cart. The man nods and drifts toward a side passage, eyes scanning the crowd. Evelyn's pulse quickens. The Watchers aren't just using their own. They're pulling in locals, urchins, anyone who can block escape routes or spot her. She veers away from the main avenue, slipping behind a cart laden with bread, then darts into a narrow alley as 2 men in identical coats converge where she'd stood seconds before. The alley is tight, walls slick with condensation, refuse underfoot. She hears coded whistles, a language of pursuit, echoing off brick. She doubles back, choosing a path between stacked crates, crouching behind them as 2 Watchers sweep past, searching. Evelyn holds her breath, every muscle taut until the footsteps recede. She realises Market Row, once a haven for anonymity, is now a trap. Adjusting her satchel, she slips deeper into the alley maze, planning her next move. Evade, observe, and survive. Evelyn presses herself into the shadowed nook of a walled courtyard, the scattered debris offering a momentary shield from prying eyes. She crouches, pulling Edmund's battered journal from her satchel, along with a stub of pencil. Her hands still shake as she flips through the familiar pages, eyes scanning for the clusters of symbols she'd memorised. She finds the one she needs, a circle split by a jagged lightning bolt. She closes her eyes and rewinds her memory. The same symbol, hastily painted on the side of a ministry wagon outside St. Caldus, flanked by a string of abbreviated numbers. She sketches them, comparing them to a fragment of a torn transfer schedule she salvaged. But the cipher is incomplete. The missing page, stolen, burned, or lost, means she must reconstruct the code from memory. She whispers the sequence to herself, recalling Edmund's lessons in pattern recognition. Her gaze flicks upward at the sound of distant boots, but no one enters the courtyard. Satisfied she's pieced together enough, she notes the next probable transfer. Today, at the St. Caldus Clinic. The schedule is tight. She tucks the journal away, stands, and steels herself. She must see these ministry wagons for herself, where they go, who boards them, and who never returns. Navigating a labyrinth of narrow streets, Evelyn approaches the crumbling brick floor by the river, her breath visible in the morning chill. The ancient mortar conceals a loose stone, the prearranged dead drop. She kneels, heart pounding, glancing over her shoulder to ensure she's alone. With a practiced motion, she pries the stone free. Inside, nothing. The coded slip she'd left for Mara 2 nights ago is gone, replaced by a thin film of undisturbed dust. Someone has been here. Someone careful. Someone who knows not to leave obvious traces. A faint scrape in the alley behind her prompts her to freeze, pressing herself against the wall, listening. Silence. She replaces the stone, reconsiders. The dead drop is compromised. She can't risk waiting for a reply. Every second spent here is a second the watchers could converge. She stands, scanning the riverbank for hidden observers. A lone gull cries, the only witness. Evelyn turns away, mind racing. Her network is not safe. She must go it alone, improvising contact and relying on her own wits. With one last glance at the river's sluggish current, she slips into the city's industrial quarter, seeking a vantage from which to watch the ministry's movements. The city's industrial quarter is a maze of brickwork, rusted pipes, and shadowed alleys. Evelyn, alert to every echo, sets her plan in motion. She doubles back along a narrow passage, eyes searching for a sign of pursuit. She spots him. A watcher, hat low, coat buttoned, moving with predatory patience. Evelyn slips a decoy satchel under a trash heap, then rounds a corner, slowing her steps. She lets her footsteps be heard, drawing the watcher nearer. As she disappears behind a stack of crates, the watcher lunges for the satchel, tearing it open to find only old papers and a broken pen. Evelyn, hidden in the shadows behind, watches as he curses softly. In his haste, a small metal token slips from his pocket, clattering on the stones. The watcher, distracted by the decoy, fails to notice as Evelyn quietly descends, snatching the token before darting through a gap in the fence. She examines it, a symbol she recognises from directorate memos, a stylized eagle clutching a key. The directorate is hunting her, not just the church or ministry. The scale of the conspiracy is greater than she feared. Evelyn tightens her grip on the token and disappears into the next alley, pulse racing. Evelyn finds temporary sanctuary in a shadowy storeroom, dust swirling in the shaft of light from a cracked window. She sits cross-legged on the cold stone floor, spreading her salvaged notes, journal fragments, and the directorate token before her. Edmund's cipher weighs heavily in her mind. The missing ledger, likely seized or destroyed, leaves her with only fragments. She sketches out what she recalls: names, symbols, dates, a partial transfer schedule, and overlays them on a city map torn from a phone book. The cipher gaps gnaw at her, taunting her with what she doesn't know. Jonas's fate, the true order of addresses, the exact timing of the next transfer. She forces herself to focus, cross-referencing the recurring circle and bolt symbol with sites she's seen. A sequence emerges. St. Caldus Clinic, a warehouse on Gilder Street, an address near the ministry wall. She circles the most likely, the clinic, tonight. She tucks away her papers, eyes burning from lack of sleep and the weight of dread. If Jonas is alive, he may be caught in this next transfer. Evelyn stands, determination hardening. She must act now, with what she has, before the next link in the chain disappears forever. As dusk filters through the soot-stained windows of an abandoned loft, Evelyn settles into her vantage point, across from the St. Coldus Clinic. She watches, barely moving, for hours as the city shifts from day to night, the bustle replaced by the ominous quiet of after-curfew patrols. From her hidden perch, she observes ministry guards, distinctive in their crimson-trimmed uniforms, stationed at the main gate and side doors. Armed with her camera, she scans for marked citizens, those with coloured ink on their forearms, guided through the clinic's iron gates by grim-faced clerics. The transfer begins. A convoy of ministry wagons, each bearing the circle and bolt sigil, rolls to a stop. One by one, groups of assessed citizens are loaded, heads down, under the watchful gaze of both church and ministry security. Evelyn snaps photos, careful not to risk detection as searchlights sweep the buildings. She notes that, contrary to previous assumptions, no one is led toward the church's sub-basement. The wagons, once full, turn not toward the catacombs, but toward a gated side road, guarded by Directorate agents. Evelyn's chest tightens. The truth is clear. The fate of the assessed is not imprisonment beneath the church, but something far more orchestrated and hidden. Evelyn leaves her perch, melting into the shadows as the convoy departs. She keeps her distance, trailing the ministry wagons along back streets and deserted lanes, ducking into doorways as patrols pass. The city seems to hold its breath, every sound amplified. At the boundary of the church district, she finds cover behind a battered trash cart. The wagons pause at a heavy iron gate, flanked by Directorate agents and a ministry official checking lists. Evelyn risks a quick dash across open ground, camera at the ready. She captures images of the transfer, faces pressed to grimy windows, the split circle emblem stamped on every vehicle, the agent's coded gestures. Suddenly, a new watcher rounds the corner, scanning for intruders. Evelyn holds her breath, flattening herself against the wall. The watcher hesitates, then moves on. Evelyn's heart hammers as she snaps a final close-up of the gate's ministry crest. The convoy disappears into a gated corridor, the doors clanging shut. Evelyn knows what she has. Proof that the transfer chain leads far beyond the church. She retreats, ducking into a storm drain as the watchers regroup, every sense on edge. The storm drain is cold and slick beneath Evelyn's boots as she scrambles for a view of the transfer gate from the far side. She wipes grime from a broken grate and steadies her camera, capturing the wagons as they vanish into the ministry's hidden corridor. A second watcher appears atop the gate, flashlight beams sweeping perilously close. Evelyn freezes, then, in a calculated risk, lobs a loose stone deeper into the drain. The clatter draws the watcher's attention just long enough. She takes a rapid series of photos, wagons, guards, the gate's coded lock. Adrenaline surges as the watcher leans in, peering down into the darkness where she crouches. She retreats, splashing through ankle-deep water, stashing her camera inside a waterproof pouch. With a final glance back, she escapes through an old maintenance tunnel, lungs burning, images secure. She emerges in a deserted lot, heart pounding, the city eerily silent around her. The revelation is undeniable. The ministry's transfer route bypasses the church's domain, moving citizens into a larger, tightly controlled system. The risk of exposure was almost total, but the evidence is real and damning. Evelyn finds refuge in a soot-blackened alcove behind an abandoned foundry. The city's clamour is distant here. Patrols' shouts and the rumble of engines echo off metal and stone. She slumps against the wall, exhaustion settling into her bones. With trembling fingers, she reviews her photos, cataloguing faces, symbols, and vehicle numbers. She activates her audio recorder, voice low and measured, encoding a summary of her findings. Transfer schedules, ministry involvement, the hidden route, and the growing presence of Directorate agents. She hides the memory card deep inside a hollow drainpipe beneath a scorched statue, one of the city's forgotten sentinels. The world outside grows restless. Sirens wail, and the distant glow of fire flickers on the horizon. Evelyn's phone, battery removed, is useless for contact. Mara and Jonas remain unreachable. She listens to the city's tension rise, fear and anger pulsing through the night air. Clutching her satchel, she steels herself. The web is tightening. Her only hope, to stay one step ahead and find the next link in the transfer chain before she is swallowed by the same system she seeks to expose. In a cramped storeroom near the edge of the industrial district, Evelyn unfurls her battered map, overlaying it with fresh notes, dates, and coded markers. She works in silence, fatigue threatening to claim her, but forces herself to prioritize. Addresses that match tonight's convoy, ministry sites cross-referenced with Edmund's journal, and the transfer chain's next probable link, an off-site processing facility she'd never before associated with the disappearances. Her pencil stutters as she tries to recall every detail, every name, every schedule she'd glimpsed. She encodes the most actionable leads into a new cipher, creating a map only she can interpret. Her mind flickers to Jonas and Mara, their fates uncertain, but she pushes the worry aside. She slips the map into her coat, wipes her face, and dons a stained worker's jacket scavenged from a pile in the corner. The city outside grows louder. Sirens, shouts, the crackle of distant gunfire. Evelyn knows she has only hours before the Watchers close in. She shoulders her satchel, resolve hardening. The transfer chain stretches onward, and she will follow it, no matter the cost. Dawn breaks over Atheros with a sullen glow as Evelyn steps onto a bustling thoroughfare bordering the ministry sector. Workers in stained uniforms, faces anxious and weary, stream toward the gates. Patrols weave through the crowd, eyes scanning for any sign of trouble. A distant explosion rumbles. Sirens and rumours ripple through the throng. Evelyn blends with the masses, her stolen jacket and battered satchel making her just another face in the crowd. She keeps her head down, eyes alert for watchers at every intersection. Behind her, a squad of watchers sweeps the block she just left, questioning bystanders and peering into alleyways. Evelyn keeps moving, her new map pressed against her chest beneath her coat. The city is tense, on the verge of something irreversible, resentment and fear bubbling just beneath the surface. As she nears the ministry gates, she vanishes into a knot of workers, disappearing from view just as the watcher's gaze sweeps the street. Evelyn merges into the human tide, the next link in the transfer chain ahead, and the city's unrest rising all around.